Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to an impromptu video, really. Just wanted to share a couple of thoughts with you, and while it was on my mind, I thought I would just bring it to you by way of a short clip, if you like. Hope everybody's doing well. I hope you all got through your weekend well and in one piece. Some of you's probably had better weekends than others, if you like. I did hear that the festival that took place here in Dorset was a blast for all those who attended, so I'm glad you all had a good time. That's great. I heard some really, really good feedback. I believe there were a few old friends there and a couple of prominent faces as well, including Professor Dolores Cahill, I believe, graced the establishment with her presence. And of course, a few friends in our friends and famous people, if you like, prominent people from our sort of neck of the woods, if you like. People like Dave Murphy and Martin Liedtke, to name but a few. Dave Weiss, I do believe, also came across the pond to also pop along and spend some time with us. I know that he did a presentation or a Q&A at the Flat Earth Social, which, for those who don't know, is a social event that takes place once a month on the last Tuesday of each month. So the next one being, if I have the calendar in my brain properly, the 30th of July of this month. Unless I'm told otherwise, I'll just stick with that for the moment. I'm not too sure who's presenting or speaking, or if anybody is at all, but definitely, or as far as I know anyway, the Flat Earth Social will proceed as per usual on the final Tuesday of every month at the Bridge Hotel in Ferndown, just on the fringes of Bournemouth, down south, here where I live, in the lovely county of Dorset, on the south coast of England. Yeah, and I've heard some good feedback from that as well. Shame I couldn't make it. I did want to go, but one or two things got in the way. At the moment, I've just got too many things that I still need to sort out. One or two of a personal health nature, if I'm being totally honest, which sort of prevents me from committing too much time away from home, if I'm totally honest. And I said I'm totally honest twice now in one sentence. So for that reason, at the moment, and for the foreseeable future anyway, it's best for me to stay closer to home, basically, without revealing too much. But that is, and I don't, to be honest, I don't want to bore people with my issues, because let's face it, we all have our crosses to bear, don't we? So it's not a sympathy fishing expedition on my part, but I'm just kind of trying to make it a little bit clear why I can't, because I've been asked by a few people, what's going on and why aren't you ever turning up anymore and all that sort of stuff. Have I got the hump with anybody or anything like that? No, I haven't. I just at the moment feel it's more prudent and wise and sensible for me to, until I've sorted a few things out, just to stay a bit closer to home and take it easy, etc. But like I say, I'm not being coy or hiding things from people. It's just that I don't want to basically bore people with my personal concerns. But there you go. So I thought I'd just mention that. But yeah, so the next Flat Earth Social, as far as I know, until I'm told otherwise, and then I will announce otherwise, is the 30th of July, Tuesday, the 30th of July, in Ferndown, here in Bournemouth, or near Bournemouth. What you see here behind me on the screen, basically, I've frozen the picture because it's the Tour de France, which is a bike riding competition, if you like, that takes part once a year. It's a big event. It goes on for about 3 odd weeks, and at the end of it, some fella gets a yellow jersey and he's a hero. But during the course of that bike riding event, believe me, I don't sit here watching it all day every day, but I thought it was good to illustrate the point I wanted to make, because it's a point that isn't being made by some people in our community at the moment, and I find it a bit of a shame, because there isn't really too much information that's required to make this point, in case that is the issue that's hindering some people from making this point, right? The knowledge factors aren't that complicated on this point of argument to be able to express the argument correctly in terms of demonstrating how the earth is most definitely flat. Yes, there are mountains, yes, there are valleys and things like that, right? But the earth is level and flat, sea level, hence the expression, right? I don't know if you can see it properly here because I'm looking on my screen there and it's not coming up very well. But here in the background, they often depict the horizon, and along the horizon, in order to demonstrate where the riders are along this journey from point A to point B. So in this case, Pinerolo in Italy to Valois in France. There'll be a distance, let's say the total distance here is 100 and something kilometers. And along that, you will have a profile of the elevation of the terrain that they have to overcome along the journey from A to B for the day. And each day they have their stages, and you know that gets added up at the end, and there's like a point system and whatever, and you've got a King of the Mountains competition, and you've got a sprint competition, and you've got a junior competition. You've also got what's called the yellow jersey, which is the overall classification winner. That's as far as my knowledge goes on the Tour de France, right? It's not very much, is it? But, and here's the bit, it kind of demonstrates quite nicely how to explain why it's really quite simple to, on being asked, can you say that the earth is flat? To be able to say to them, yes, I absolutely can, and here's why, right? So these elevations here, depicted by hills and mountains, they are in reference to, as depicted here by a flat straight line, sea level, always, right? Any elevation at all, if you're ever map reading or anything like that, any heights that are given, any elevations that are given on the map that you're reading is always in relation to sea level. Not sea curve, sea level, always, right? Now, when you were talking about this here, or for example, just the flatness of Earth in general and how one can possibly know that, it boils back down to the fact that we measure Earth flat for all our mapping, for all our navigation, for aviation, for everything that we do that involves the world that we know, to get around it and all the rest of it. We have to measure it flat. And when I say that, you require a flat plane in order to carry out the measurements in the first instance, to then ascertain your latitude lines, etc., that we then see depicted on balls of, globe earths and things like that, all these nonsense models, right? Well, they are all derived from what are called elevation angle measurements. Elevation being the key word in relation to water or sea level. Always. Always, always, always. It's the only way it can be possibly done. Now, people can argue back and yell as much as they want and go on about how you're a conspiracy theorist and a dumb flat earther and all the rest of it. This has got nothing to do with being a flat earther. This is stating a fact. That is how mapping is done. That is how navigation is done. That's how a sextant, for example, and anybody can look it up, gets utilized by way of the horizon, which has to be flat. It's a prerequisite for that bit of equipment to even function. Has to be, right? To get the height of a mountain, we utilize what's called trigonometry. Same thing. The earth that you're standing on is your baseline. It has to be flat in order to then carry out the measurement, in order to know the distance between yourself and the mountain, to then eventually, by way of an angle measurement, calculate the height of a mountain, for example, or the height of a tree in the distance, whatever. Stuff we used to learn at school. But of course, nobody questioned how much of the bit that we're measuring to the tree is flat, or how, because we're thinking it's a little flat bit on an overall curved ball, which of course is nonsense. The ball isn't made up of lots of little flat bits. It's not a disco ball. We don't have a ball. It's nonsense, right? And that's where I think people have the struggle in their minds, even within the truth-seeking, dare I call it that, community, who kind of get the idea that Earth must be flat, but then they can't really compute the fact that we've been told over so many years that it isn't. And all the officialdom that we know, be it news agencies, etc., 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 tell us otherwise. They show us pictures of rockets allegedly going out into an impossible region called space. Can't happen. That's to do with natural law. That violates all natural laws, by the way. And again, this is stuff that anybody can look up. You know, it's not an invention of some crazy flat earth orientated group of people who've got nothing better to do with the time. These are facts. These are facts. They're just kept from us, right? Now, what the reasons for the lies are and all the rest of it, don't know. And to be honest with you, I don't really care. But let's get this straight once and for all, right? And I'm not pointing anyone out here, although it's the narrative of a particular person that has woken me to really bring this to a video, and why I've been talking to friends about this, not in a personally critical way towards this person, but just to think to myself, well, why is it so difficult on being asked, are you certain the earth is flat, that you can't say yes and back it with some knowledge? Right. Well, the knowledge is quite simple. All mapping, all measurements has to be measured flat. All earth measurements, I'll repeat that, I'll go back. All measurements that we carry out has to involve a flat earth. Has to. There's no other way of ascertaining what we call latitude and longitude and all that sort of stuff, right? I won't go into detail now because that can get a bit complicated. But at the end of the day, it's a prerequisite. It's not an idea, it's something that's necessary, right? And an angle, just the pure definition of an angle, are two straight lines, your baseline and the angle that you're measuring up to whatever it is you're measuring the angle to. So let's say Polaris, for example, you know, the light in the sky that never moves, even though we're allegedly corkscrewing through regions that can't exist either. All nonsense, right? An angle is the baseline and the angle in the vertical, that's the gap in between, there's your angle, that meet at a vertex. That's the bit here where the two lines meet. Two straight lines meeting at a vertex is an angle. That's the definition of an angle. Not a curved line and a straight line meeting at a vertex. No, two straight lines. And the lower horizontal straight line is the ground you're standing on. It has to be. It can't function any other way. Now, do a lot of people who use radar systems, another flat earth requirement, by the way, or who have built lighthouses, another requirement on flat earth, by the way, it wouldn't work on a ball earth. What's the point about building a lighthouse if you can't see it after 2 miles? Etc., etc., etc. All these things that are line of sight technologies that require flat earth for them to work and to function and to have any use whatsoever. There are a lot of people involved in building them and using them or whatever that don't know the earth is flat because they haven't taken a closer look at it and researched it correctly and given it some real deep thought. But I can tell you now, it is. Earth is measured flat. And it's as simple as that. Why it's measured flat and all the rest of it? Well, to ascertain our position on an open ocean, for example, if we're using celestial navigation, right? You would then ascertain or create what we call circles of equal elevation to then eventually plot your position on an open ocean. And that is all carried out through celestial navigation, which requires a flat earth below your feet. Requires. So getting back to this here, even on the TV, they're depicting a flat surface with the profile of the countryside, if you like, depicted above it. That being the baseline. That could be a mile long, it could be 100 miles long. But flat it will remain. What happens above and below, in terms of the profile of the landscape, if you're looking at it cross-section wise, is irrelevant when we talk about sea level and the necessity for a flat earth to carry out any measurements that are then used even for our globe models. Right? Just to make that clear. So if anybody ever asks anybody ever in future, can you state for sure that the earth is flat? Absolutely you can, because it gets measured that way. Like I say, not my invention. I didn't think that up. It's not an invention of any person who's got too much time on their hands and wearing tinfoil hats. It's the way it is. It's a fact. Why the lie? Don't know. Don't care. So, hope that clarifies things. Anyway, so I just wanted to bring that over on a video because it's starting to frustrate me a little bit that people have got some good knowledge in their hands and are not doing anything with it. They're holding back. And I'm hearing all sorts of excuses. I'm hearing the excuse of, well, it keeps the conversation going and all that. What about the people who are new to all of this and needs some good sound knowledge right from the start, right from the get-go, and are just getting drops of knowledge, and some of it is being either withheld, or the people who are conveying that knowledge aren't knowledgeable enough to convey it with confidence. It's one or the other, right? So if you don't have the confidence to argue the point that Earth, of course, is unequivocally, irrefutably flat because it's measured as such, then gain some knowledge around how trigonometry works, gain some knowledge around how celestial navigation works, and then you'll know, and then there's no excuses. But if your excuse is to drip feed people with information so as you keep the conversation and the debate going for monetary purposes perhaps, or whatever other ulterior motives one may have, I'm just speculating, I'm not accusing anybody of doing this, by the way, I'm just thinking out loud because I don't know, then that needs to be looked at very harshly by others in the community, and quite frankly, not just frowned upon, because it's not good. We want to get to the bottom of things, and we want to be able to pass good, sound, solid, truthful information on. And more importantly, really, certainly for me, I want to know what I'm learning is true. And I want to know that I'm learning as much as I possibly can when I'm learning stuff. And I will always listen to people. That's how I've got to this stage in the first place. You know, I've been in and around this topic now since 2017, roughly. But, you know, there's been a lot of listening involved. One of the big turn-ons for me in the whole matter at all is the fact that I learn so much. You know, first of all, learning to unlearn all the things that we've been taught, you know, over all those years of going to school and all the rest of it, you know, and then the discovery that actually most of what we've learned are just barefaced lies. Are your school teachers per se liars? No, that's not what I'm saying. But the information we're given is flawed at best. And with a bit of research and a bit of common sense and a bit of sound discernment, we can come to those conclusions very quickly, and we can convey that knowledge, that newfound knowledge, with confidence and honesty and integrity. Anyway, on that note, Larry sends his regards. He's stayed away for this video. Yeah, I think, bless him, that he's got to him a little bit. So, you know, he's just chilling in the corner. So I'll say hello on his behalf, you know. I'm doing all right, getting there, you know, and I'll be sure to be back again soon with another video, like I keep saying, talking about some old world stuff. Again, another great example of how we've been lied to, and we're surrounded by that example. But that's another story. So, on this note, bid you all farewell. Thanks for taking a look in. I'll see you all soon, and some of you much, much sooner. So until then, take it easy, and ta-ta for now.